Before we start, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell so you never miss what's coming next. And after you subscribe, drop your video ideas in the comments. Now, here's the hook. Most people use ChatGPT like a search engine. Power users use it like a second brain, a strategist, a coding partner, a research assistant, a creative director, and sometimes even a ruthless editor that tells them the truth. The difference is not access, it's not intelligence, it's how they think. And today, I'm going to show you how power users actually use ChatGPT behind the scenes. Let's get something clear immediately. Casual users ask one-off questions. Power users build systems. The average person types something like, "Write me a caption for Instagram," and hopes for magic. A power user starts by defining context, constraints, voice, audience, and goal. They treat ChatGPT less like a vending machine and more like an employee that needs onboarding. Instead of saying, "Write a blog post about productivity," they say, "You are a productivity coach who specializes in helping overwhelmed entrepreneurs. Write a 1,200-word blog post for busy founders who struggle with focus." Use a direct but empathetic tone, include practical examples and actionable steps. Avoid cliches. End with a strong call to action. Power users understand that prompting is thinking. When they write a prompt, they are clarifying their own ideas. They don't just ask for answers. They shape the frame of the answer. They give background information. They paste in rough drafts. They provide messy thoughts and say, "Organize this." They iterate. They refine. They treat the conversation as collaborative, not transactional. Another thing power users do is they chain tasks together. Instead of asking for one big, perfect output, they break problems into stages. For example, if they're creating a YouTube video, they don't say, "Write the full script." First, they ask for 10 strong hooks tailored to their niche. Then they select one and ask to expand it into an outline. Then they refine the outline based on their personal stories. Then they ask for a full script in their tone of voice. Then they ask ChatGPT to critique the script and suggest improvements for retention. Then they ask for title ideas optimized for curiosity. Then they ask for thumbnail text ideas with emotional triggers. It's not one prompt, it's a workflow. Power users also give ChatGPT a role. This is huge. Instead of interacting with a neutral assistant, they assign identities depending on what they need. Sometimes it's act as a senior software engineer reviewing my code. Other times it's act as a tough investor evaluating my startup pitch, or act as a psychologist helping me. Reframe limiting beliefs. By assigning a role, they activate more focused, relevant outputs. They narrow the lens. They reduce generic advice, and because they switch roles depending on the context, they extract far more specialized insight. When it comes to learning, power users use ChatGPT as a personalized tutor. But they don't just ask for explanations. They ask to be challenged. They say, "Explain this concept in simple terms, then test me with 5 questions that increase in difficulty. Don't give me the answers until I respond." They turn passive reading into active recall. They ask for analogies tailored to their interests. If they like fitness, they'll say, "Explain this business concept using a gym analogy." If they like gaming, they'll say, "Explain this as if it's a strategy game." They make the learning sticky by connecting it to what they already care about. In business, power users rely on ChatGPT to think through decisions. They paste in business models and ask for weaknesses. They simulate worst-case scenarios. They say, "If this fails, why would it fail?" They ask for second-order consequences. They ask for counter-arguments to their own ideas. They deliberately expose blind spots. Instead of looking for validation, they look for friction. That's a completely different mindset. Writers who are power users rarely start from scratch anymore. They brain dump raw thoughts without worrying about grammar or structure. Then they ask ChatGPT to organize the chaos into a coherent argument. They request multiple stylistic variations. Rewrite this in a more conversational tone. Now make it sharper and more provocative. Now simplify it to an 8th grade reading level. They compare versions and combine the best parts. It becomes an iterative drafting engine. Developers who are power users don't just paste code and say, "Fix this." They explain what they're trying to achieve, what they've already tried, and what the constraints are. They ask for explanations of why something works, not just how to make it work. They request comments in the code so they can learn from it. They use ChatGPT to refactor, optimize, and even generate test cases. When they get an error, they paste the error message and the relevant code and ask for a breakdown of what's happening step by step. It becomes both a problem solver and a teacher. Entrepreneurs use ChatGPT to compress time. They use it to generate customer personas based on real feedback. They paste reviews and ask for patterns. They ask for messaging angles that target specific pain points. They simulate sales conversations and objection handling. They practice negotiation scenarios. They create onboarding emails, product descriptions, ad copy, and FAQs. But the real power move is that they constantly refine based on data. They feed performance metrics back into the conversation and say these ads had a low click-through rate. Why might that be? Generate alternative hooks that emphasize urgency instead of benefits. It becomes a feedback loop. Power users also understand memory and context management. They don't rely on one giant conversation forever. They structure their interactions by project. One chat for a book, one for a business idea, one for personal growth. They keep context clean so the outputs stay relevant. They summarize key insights from long conversations and reuse them as context in new chats. They curate their own knowledge base through conversation. Another major difference is that power users ask ChatGPT to think about thinking. They request frameworks. They say, give me a decision-making framework for choosing between two career paths, or create a mental model for evaluating opportunities. They use it to build cognitive tools, not just content. Over time, they internalize these frameworks. ChatGPT becomes a catalyst for sharper reasoning. When it comes to productivity, power users don't just ask for to-do lists. They describe their energy levels, time constraints, and priorities. They ask for realistic schedules. They ask for focused strategies tailored to their personality. They say, I tend to procrastinate when tasks feel overwhelming. Break this project into steps that feel almost too small to resist. They design environments and routines with intention. They use ChatGPT to pre-think their day. Creatives use ChatGPT to push beyond obvious ideas. Instead of saying, give me story ideas, they add constraints. Give me 5 story ideas that combine sci-fi with ancient mythology and explore themes of identity. Constraints breed originality. They also ask for unexpected combinations. Combine minimalism, street culture, and luxury branding into a product concept. They force novelty by design. Power users are not afraid to argue with ChatGPT. If an answer feels generic, they say so. They challenge assumptions. They ask for deeper analysis. They request sources of reasoning. They refine until the output meets their standard. They treat the first response as version 1, not the final product. They also use ChatGPT for self-reflection. They journal into it. They describe situations that triggered emotional reactions and ask for perspective. They ask for cognitive distortions in their thinking. They request alternative interpretations of events. They use it to separate facts from stories. Over time, this builds emotional intelligence. In meetings and professional settings, power users prepare with ChatGPT beforehand. They outline talking points. They role-play difficult conversations. They anticipate objections. They draft follow-up emails in advance. After meetings, they paste notes and ask for summaries and action items. They reduce cognitive load so they can focus on presence. Another advanced move is using ChatGPT to compress research. Instead of reading 10 articles separately, power users gather excerpts, paste them in, and ask for synthesis. They look for patterns, contradictions, and insights. They ask for summaries tailored to their goal, not generic overviews. They transform information into strategy. Power users also create reusable prompt templates. If they regularly write newsletters, they design a structured prompt that includes audience description, tone guidelines, formatting preferences, and desired length. They reuse and tweak it. Over time, their prompts become assets. They refine the input as much as the output. Importantly, power users know when not to use ChatGPT. They don't outsource critical thinking entirely. They verify important information. They cross-check. They use it as augmentation, not replacement. They maintain responsibility for decisions. And here's something subtle but powerful. They use ChatGPT to clarify their goals. Many people feel stuck because their thinking is vague. Power users will say, help me clarify what I actually want in my career. Ask me questions one at a time and challenge superficial answers. They let the conversation surface hidden motivations. They explore values, trade-offs, fears. The clarity that emerges is often more valuable than any specific tactic. They also reverse engineer success. If they admire someone in their field, they describe that person's results and ask, what skills, habits, and strategies would likely produce this outcome? Create a learning roadmap for me to move in that direction over the next 6 months. They turn inspiration into structured action. In content creation, power users analyze high-performing pieces. They paste transcripts or summaries and ask for breakdowns of structure, pacing, and psychological triggers. They ask what makes the hook effective. They ask how tension is maintained. They deconstruct before they construct. One of the biggest mindset shifts is that power users don't expect perfection instantly. They expect iteration. They move fast because they're willing to refine publicly or privately. ChatGPT accelerates the messy middle. It reduces the friction between idea and execution. If you step back, the pattern becomes clear. Power users are intentional. They provide context, they define roles, they break problems into stages, they iterate, they challenge outputs, they build systems, they focus on thinking quality, not just answer speed. So, if you've been using ChatGPT casually, here's your invitation to level up. The tool is not the differentiator. The user is. Start treating your prompts like strategic instructions. Start using conversation as a workspace. Start asking better questions. Because better questions create better thinking, and better thinking creates better results. Before we wrap up, I want you to reflect, how are you currently using ChatGPT? Are you asking shallow questions or building deep workflows? Are you settling for the first answer or refining until it matches your vision? Let me know in the comments how you use it right now and what you want to improve. I genuinely read your responses. If you found this valuable, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss what's coming next. And seriously, drop your video ideas in the comments, along with how you're using ChatGPT, because the next power user strategy I break down might come directly from you.